Oh shit!
Just keep going. Oh.
Well, that caught me by surprise. Wasn't quite ready then. I've lost my headset. Hello, everyone. I really wasn't ready then. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good.
Are you ready for this next game?
I'm am ready for this next game. It is young versus old. It's Monster versus Red Bull. It's evil versus good. It's Swede versus Korean. It's awesome.
I agree. It's going to be a good one. Naniwa is just getting ready on stage, as you can see.
Oh, Naniwa's getting ready. We're closing in on. We're inside of an hour.
He's been getting ready
to go.
But,
this should be sick.
Yeah, Life's been ready for a while over in the other booth.
He requests 10 practice games before every booth encounter.
At least 10.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Life's in there. What is Life thinking right now? What does a 16-year-old that travels the world taking names and kicking ass do? What does he think about?
Pink unicorns, rainbows, chocolate, and StarCraft.
What is the show that he watches, you think, at that age? At 16. Let's see. He was
16?
born.
Glee?
He's like too young for Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like he's like Dora's the shit, actually. Have you guys checked out that Explorer chick?
I guess.
Speaks Spanish and finds things. I don't know.
I have no idea what he watches.
You're terrible at banner. Did you know that?
I'm really boring, actually.
Yeah,
that's probably the funniest thing about me is I know I'm not funny.
Well, at least you know it. God, you are stonewalling me so hard, right and left. This is great.
This wasn't the build-up I was expecting to such an awesome series.
Let's talk about something you do know. Tell me about the monarchy in Britain.
I don't know much about that.
No? Not that either?
I know a lot about StarCraft, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And hairstyles, apparently, too. So I'm going to say that Naniwa's going to have a difficult time coming into this, Jeff, because it's StarTale life. He's a 16-year-old guy who watches Dora the Explorer, but more importantly, has won major StarCraft 2 titles across the board for a long time now.
Well, as you guys know, they met at a final, and I think what sticks out to me about that final is that Naniwa was playing on fire. He played an amazing tournament at that tournament, and then he hit Life, and Life was chuckling in the series where they were playing together, like, "Oh, you mere mortal man." And then he just murdered him. It was not a great final in that respect. So what I do like, though, is that Naniwa, in respective interviews recently, has said actually he really enjoys the PvZ matchup. He feels like playing against Zerg's really fun. But also, we saw yesterday, he's changing up his gameplay. He's not just predictably just doing Void Rays. He's not relying on either doing timing or this or that. He's starting to play a series much better, in my opinion. And I think this is the most dangerous Naniwa that could sit across from Life in recent history. I think this is the best chance he's got.
I would have to agree with you there. I finally sorted my headset out and stuff, so I'm actually able to speak and hear things. But I think that Naniwa's going to come into the series with a much different mindset than they had when they played in New York. Because when Naniwa played then, he was playing a style that was very simply countered by Life. Before Life came into the finals, he actually spoke with Hyun backstage, who had just lost, and said, "Watch this, let me show you how to beat him." And therefore he went into the finals and, as we saw, beat him quite easily with a very heavy Hydralist Queen play, very aggressive, very assertive. But I think that's not going to be the way this series plays out. I think Naniwa's going to play it something very different. I think he's going to obviously have the staple of Void Race around the series, but I don't think it's going to be as simple as that Life thought that the last one was and how it actually was.
Naniwa is going to have to play to Life. Life plays a different brand of ZVP. Just Zerg in general, actually, I feel. He's super counter-attack heavy. Like, even if he gets roaches, if he gets hydras, he has no problem peeling off 3 or 4 of those things and just throwing them at the back of a mineral line. Like, he's very, very consistent about that. And of course, what he's most famous for is his Zergling. So it sounds silly to talk about that as if that's like... Zerg should all do that, right? So it's weird to talk about Life only doing that, but that's actually like a staple of his gameplay. He will come at you all the time from different angles, and you have got to be aware of that. Now, the nice thing for Naniwa in what we saw in his PvZs yesterday was he did seem to be very comfortable sitting back, defending, kind of building up that super army, not necessarily going for 4 or 5 base gameplay, but more trying to get the right composition. And that could be very strong against a player like Life. If those Lings, if those Roaches and those Hydras are being thrown away uselessly, then there's a chance that we could see a snowball effect come out of Naniwa.
I have to agree with you there. I really think that's the way that this series may play out with Naniwa's side of things. Naniwa has had a pretty decent tournament so far. It started off actually really rocky for him, where he lost initially versus Patience in the first game of his tournament in a PvP there. And then he started to look quite shaky against Tilo, narrowly beating him to a series that Tilo probably to this day right now says he probably should have won and almost did win it. But Naniwa then kind of bounced back and won 3 games in a row, including that TLO game, and advanced through in second place in his group. And this is, of course, the first game of the day here in day 2 for Naniwa. Whereas Life, on the other hand, hasn't dropped this series yet. He's only dropped 2 maps throughout the tournament and smashed through his group in Group B with the likes of MMA, JYP, Pult, and Stardust. Stardust and JYP, of course, being the 2 Protoss players that he's already beat. Stardust, highly aggressive, lots of different types of all-ins, and we did see Life beat him 2-1, and then, of course, JYP plays a more standard style. So he's already really warmed up against, 2 different styles of Protoss players.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you regard the 3 Protoss players, they're similar and different at the same time. Of course, Stardust, very different from everybody, but similar in the sense that he's more of the aggressive ilk, which is something that I feel like JYP and Naniwa would probably talk about. Naniwa talked about how his army control is kind of his strength. Not so much the all-in timing styles that we see from a lot of these other Protoss players, but he's still not like army control, but I never attack and I'm just going to sit forever. He's going to, like I said, kind of amass that composition, but certainly spill over off of 3 bases and go for that aggression. We don't really see those super passive macro defensive Protoss players anymore in the PvZ matchup. It's been very much like I'm a 2-base guy, I'm a 3-base guy, but it's that or the other, and then you just do timing attacks based on that.
All right, well, it looks like Naniwa is almost ready. His final preparations are done. The booth has now been closed and his headset is on. Likewise, Life has been waiting here for Naniwa, and we will get this game underway in the next couple of minutes here. So thank you here for tuning in online, and thank you for coming down here to watch live. Do make sure to tell everyone to watch this, and if they haven't watched too much StarCraft before, we're going to give you a bit of an interesting ride. We're trying to explain everything that happens between these 2 players. As Naniwa has had a remarkable 2013, being, I mean, there's no doubt, there's no arguing at all now. He is the best non-Korean when it comes to playing StarCraft 2. He's shown that throughout the year, having 2 second-place finishes at big tournaments. Of course, we had the initial Dreamhack tournament, and then Intel Extreme Masters New York, where he faced off against Startail Life there.
Yeah, a great day 1 here as well. He's the only non-Korean to be in that winner's upper bracket. Now battling a very tough opponent in Life. But the nice thing here for the home audience and everybody at home as well is if you are rooting for a foreigner in this tournament, should Naniwa be defeated here, it's not the last we've seen him. He'll go into that lower bracket, which is still chock full of really talented players, but you have new life. That's the reward you get for kicking ass day 1, is you get a couple of chances, whereas some of these guys, they're already fighting for elimination down in the lower bracket.
How do you think Life is going to approach this series? Naniwa, let's the way that Naniwa's played PvZs before. Gateway first is his preferred play style. He doesn't really like to go for Nexus, even though he can do. He doesn't really like it. His preferred style is Gateway play. His obviously favorite unit is the Void Ray. How do you think that Life's going to really approach a series like this against Naniwa? Is he ready yet?
He is so bored right now. Don't worry, Life. So are we. But you know what? It's interesting because he's typically the kind of Zerg that sets the pace. Like I said, he's very counterattack, very aggressive. But with Naniwa's defensive, sometimes Void Ray style of play, a lot of times you have to adjust your composition to that. Zergs don't naturally bring out queens to attack with often, and then follow that up with things like infestors and amassing hydras. So I feel like Life thinks he's the better player, and he'd probably be correct on that regard. And he's going to go into this saying, let's see what Naniwa's going to try to do to disrupt me, and then I'll just counter that. I don't think Life goes into this saying, I'm going to try this exactly, this exactly, this exactly.
Yeah.
He's just going into it saying, what's Naniwa want to do, and how am I going to squelch that?
So a little bit like the way that Sulky played against Naniwa at BlizzCon, you'd say.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, even then, though, we saw Sulky jump into the metagame a little bit and go for early pools against Naniwa's tendency to either do 1-gate expand or Nexus first. I don't know. I mean, life is, as you say that, he has a tendency to try the early pool stuff, and that is borderline free win against like a blind Nexus first on a map like maybe Frost or Whirlwind. So Life could try that, but I feel like he's playing so good right now, I'd almost say don't even risk it, because that against a one-gate expand, all of a sudden Life is behind against Naniwa, and in a short best of 3, he could lose that best of 3.
All right, so from what I've been told, Naniwa just needs to reboot his PC, then he'll be ready to go. So we do need a couple more minutes. So let's go ahead and just remind you about the bracket and how things are shaping up. Here is the bracket of the Dreamhack Winter 2013 Finals. We've already played through 3 games in the winner bracket quarters, as it's described on the screen in front of you. Patience MMA, Tasia Hero, Jadong Innovation, and now with Life and Naniwa, we've already got our winner semi-final set up, MMA versus Tasia, and then Innovation. And those 3 players remind me of another tournament, which was Dreamhack Bucharest. If Life is able to beat Naniwa, we have the exact same top 4 that was present at Dreamhack Bucharest, repeating themselves at Dreamhack Winter. And that is some consistency there.
Winners tend to win. We already have 3 Terrans through in that second round of the upper bracket. Man.
Terran's OP.
Isn't that what we can conclude from this?
Yeah, Terran's really strong, apparently.
Probably need to just get rid of the Widowmine. And in fact, if we could speed up the Oracle again, is what I want to... I really feel like that could be the answer.
Maybe the Warp Prism too. Down in the loser bracket, which will be coming up actually after this game. So as soon as we finish with Life versus Naniwa, we'll be going down to the loser bracket round 1. The players that finished in 3rd and 4th in the group stage yesterday. TLO will be going up against EGJYP, which will be our first game after this one. Then we have 4GG versus Lenok, and Ghost User SOS, and then Pult versus Hyun is at the bottom left of your screen. And we've already seen the players that have lost in the winner bracket first round have dropped down there, so Jaden will play the winner of TLO versus JYP, and Patience and Hero there as well. It's a very, very stacked tournament we have here, Jeff.
Really stacked, and if you are rooting for some of these non-Koreans to make a stand against the tide of the amazing Koreans, you look at TLO JYP and say, that's probably as good of a draw as TLO could ask for. He's got a really good chance. He did 2-0 Patience just yesterday, so that could be a very interesting match. Ghost User versus SOS. Not a fantastic draw for Ghost User. I feel like this is him looking a little bit at the universe and saying, why me, why? And then, of course, the rest is all Koreans. Naniwa could drop down there if he doesn't overcome Life.
That's right. But look at that. The game is ready, finally. I surprised you with that one. No one expected it to start then. So let's go ahead and introduce these 2 players to the first map here on Yunsu. Up here to the top right, playing as the Red Zerg, playing for Team Startail, it's Life.
And his opponent, the Swede from Team Alliance, it's Naniwa. He may have some supporters here.
I think so. Well, let's find out what he's going to be able to do here to triumph such a competitor. Life, undefeated so far in this tournament, has just come back from a big win in October. Just last month, he was able to take down the Intel Extreme Masters New York, and that was a stacked tournament. Lots of top-tier Koreans there. And these 2 did meet in the grand finals in that best of 7.
Yeah, Life has had, he's been playing really well this year. Kind of quietly so, because, again, unless you're really doing it in WCS, that's what gets the most attention. All week long you hear about WCS through the different regions. But even outside of that, there was this time where, if you go back like a year, Life was the Zerg that I looked at and said, this is the best, I think this is the best Zerg I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's only going to get better from here. I feel like StarCraft 2 is literally going to ride on the back of his shoulders. Like, he's going to show us what the skill ceiling could potentially look like. He got a little quiet for a while there. He hit a lull where...
Do you know what I heard during that quiet period?
What's that? What'd you hear?
Remember he's 16 as well? He had a couple of girlfriends during that
Girlfriends
period.
in that time?
Yeah. You wouldn't believe that. That's what I heard.
Well...
From reliable sources.
Okay.
By the way, continue.
Young love.
I'd put that in there.
Young love. Get in the way of esports. I understand. Apparently he's single as all shit right now because he's kicking a lot of ass. He's playing really well. And I guess StarTale would like to keep him in that booth. So girls, you stay back. You Swedish women. That one over there is
not for the taking.
He's for esports right now. Wait until we milk his soul dry, then we'll give him up to real life, I think.
But not
it's a plan.
Not yet. So these two builds, we actually already see Life playing towards Naniwa. We described it before. Naniwa's preferred play style is going for a gateway opening. Life has chosen to go for 3 hatcheries before a spawning pool. And this is a build that always, every single time Naniwa plays a big PvZ on stage, it always rattles his cage when players do this against him.
Well, Naniwa he's from kind of a group of players that have the mindset that this game is supposed to be played kind of in a formal fashion, and if you deviate from that, you're cheating in one way or another to a certain extent. And this is something that, like you said, it rattles his cage because it's called, I mean, you can call it basically like economic cheese in the sense that if it had Naniwa opened up like we saw yesterday with that Forge first, intending for a Nexus first, or catching this build, and then cannon rushing a hatch or 2, Naniwa would say that, you know, this is just taking a risk, that he's not doing that. But as we can see, Life is very comfortable starting off this best of 3 saying, okay, if you're going to try to stay in your comfort zone and do your 1-gate expand, there's the risk that you're just going to be behind because of the openings.
Well, Naniwa has seen the 3rd hatchery down really early on. He knows exactly what he's playing against here. And I have to point out one part of this map, which I think may be the focus point for Naniwa, is right above the 3rd base of the hatchery of Life. There's an area where you have high ground vision, you can use force fields really well. And if he's able to control this and keep creep spread away from it, that could be one of the most important parts of the game for Naniwa if he's looking along those lines. He's moving out with double probes at this point. Warp Gate research is near completion. He's got a couple of gateways down. He's got 2 zealots on the other side.
And the Mothership Core here as well.
He's trying to warp in a couple of zealots to bring this 3rd down.
Yeah, I really like this from Naniwa. I mean, basically what he's saying is, I'm going to go, probably not bring down your 3rd hatch, but I'm going to force you to spend larvae that you otherwise would have spent on things like drones and really taking advantage of those 3 hatcheries. And I'm going to put you in a precarious situation, because the thing is, if Life doesn't take this into account, if he's like, well, I'm just going to send 1 queen and I'll just leave my 6 lings or something like that, all of a sudden there's 3 stalkers and 2 zealots in the Mothership Core, or 5 zealots, something along those lines, and this 3rd could be in danger. So it's a nice, it's a counter move essentially.
Some really high level play here, because Naniwa built the pylon, got there aggressively, and didn't warp in any zealots there. And I don't think he's looking to overcommit. The sentries might as well have been warped back at home. He's just going to recall out of there. He's kind of showing a lot, but not really able to do anything here. I really don't think he's going to push too much.
I love this.
Here.
He's sitting here though. The worst thing he could do is lose these units. And of course, Naniwa with his army control really shouldn't get there. There's the force fields. Going to kill a couple of lings and just recall out, like you said. He does lose 1 sentry, so it could have gone better for himself. But he's forcing out early roaches pre-lair. So these are slow, tedious roaches that aren't really going to do anything. They're going to walk across the map, but they're going to do it under fire from the Mothership Core, get to the other side, and Naniwa's not going to deviate. He's going to have his sentries anyways. He'll warp in a couple of stalkers, but these are all things he can use later.
And he's warping in a lot of stalkers here. I would not be surprised to see the Twilight Council come down in the next couple of seconds. He may be looking for some kind of blink play, maybe with +2. He's already got a high sentry count. He's moving out with a probe here.
This could be bad, though. I think Naniwa wants to take a 3rd.
Yeah,
he's looking to do it up there, and actually this is open space, so while these sentries...
He's caught 2 roaches and a handful of Zerglings here. That's a nice little pickup, and he is going to plant the 3rd down right behind it, so that's a good start here for him.
Life not confident in that moment in time. I mean, his overall army was stronger than these 2 zealots and sentries, but because he tried to run, he had the caboose of that train of units cut off, and... nice little win for Naniwa there, severing some units and getting them down for free, basically.
How aggressive do you think Naniwa's going to aim to be in this game? I mean, he's still building probes. He's definitely going to be looking towards blink and +2 attack. You think he's just going to throw down a flurry of gateways here and then look to be aggressive towards that location above described? Or do you think he's going to throw down some real tech, the robotics facility? Is he going to look towards, throwing down a bunch of Stargates now? Where is he aiming?
Well, this game is, this map in particular, is a violent seesaw, like, for both players. If Naniwa wants to be aggressive, there's a very short distance from his 3rd to the meaningful 3rd of the Zerg player. But conversely, for the Zerg player, if he goes Roach Hydra, he's like a very short thrown stone, or however the hell you say that saying. I'm blanking on it right now. Away from the Protoss space as well. So it's a very aggressive map. There's not a whole lot of swarm host or static defense kind of play here. But But as I say that, that's a pretty early infestation pit, so I could be eating my words with a spoon in just a few minutes.
I'll find the spoon in a second, if it happens. We'll see what's research from that infestation pit. As roach speed is on the way for these roaches. And the infestation pit is finished up. Nothing yet. As Naniwa does lose a stalker, or just one stalker.
Yeah.
And what is Life thinking there? We do have Enduring
There it
Locust
is.
for the Swarm Hosts. I'm going to find a spoon for you in a second. Hold on.
Now, the kind of nice thing about this is that while I said we don't typically see Swarm Hosts and then inside of a minute later, I'm just completely wrong. What I like about it is with that 4th base that we can see Life taking right now, that's basically the launch pad. You just park your Swarm Host there, and you're threatening the 3rd and potential 4th of the Protoss player. And they can't, I mean, what are they going to do? Come to your 4th where they're now on creep, they're going up a ramp. There should be stacked defenses there as well. It's very difficult for the Protoss. So Naniwa needs to identify this as soon as possible and then get that Warp Prism out and start to keep those Swarm Hosts moving and punish their immobility. If he just sits here and defends and allows 31 or 20 some odd Swarm Hosts to get out, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
We were just watching Naniwa there. He's actually switched over to double robotics facility. I'm not too sure if he caught wind.
He must have.
The Swarm Host here. I'm not. Yeah, he has. Okay, so he's seen the infestation pit. He knows what he's going up against, and he has switched to tech. So Naniwa, who I think would have liked to be aggressive in this game around this period, has now said, all right, time to sit back, because I'm not going to be able to break this guy without splash damage. He's going to have a lot of Swarm Hosts, and he is going to sit and wait for a high Colossus count. Probably go with +3 attack in a long time now. But he has seen a 4th base down. He knows his opponent has a strong economy. Is there some way that Naniwa can play defensive yet aggressive at the same time?
Yes, he's got that Warp Prism going out. The Dark Shrine has finished. These are the key elements to battling a Swarm Host toting Zerg player. We see that stack defenses are going down in the background, but those Swarm Hosts are out in the middle of the map. I gotta tell you, we've seen this before. It's very dangerous. If they get spotted like they are right now, all that has to happen is that Naniwa can jump on top of them, and those Swarm Hosts are they're just so hard to replace. So that's what Naniwa has to do. The nice thing too is when you face Swarm Hosts, I almost feel like there's like a list. You have to check off on this list. If you don't have a mobile Protoss army, if you're not like massing up double Robo Colossus or something like that, if you're not using a Warp Prism, if you're not going AoE either Storm and Colossus or at least just Colossus, chances are you're probably going to die unless there's this weird base trade scenario. But Naniwa's making those checks in order at a good time as well. So I think he's got what it takes.
All right, so here we are. We're continuing on. Remember, I'm pretty sure the Dark Shrine just finished up as well, so that is a part of this aggression coming from the Warp Prism. But the threat is already there. Here comes a big warping of Zealots outside the range of anything from Life. And you could always say that, why doesn't he have any vision down that side? Where is his Overlords down there? Because he could get stung. There's a couple of Spine Crawlers there. So maybe he should have enough time to get the Swarm Host in position.
Here comes that counterattack the Life is known for. There are cannons in that middle line, so I don't anticipate it being super impactful. But if we look at the 4th base of the Zerg, I think he did have a few stacked defenses there. No, Adabissy's got plans to look at other things.
Yeah, he's looking at these roaches in the probe line at the moment. There's nothing been touched on there. There is an observer inside that main base, and these roaches will get picked off. A bit of loss of mining time for Naniwa on that location. Not bringing in as much money.
Not a big deal, though, to be honest with you. Naniwa's got to be thinking about a 4th base here. And, he's got the Colossus out, so now he has to start shoving around. He cannot just sit back. And this is going to be a big deal. Does he have charge? I don't think he does. I saw the blink upgrade. So there's no charge. So these Zealots, they could be better. But they're going to move in here. And Life's one step ahead. He's already got stacked defenses. I'd like to start seeing some DT play here, though. We do see that the Spine Crawlers, there is no Spore Crawler up here. So he could actually get that Hive if he warped in some DTs.
I'm pretty sure he had the Dark Shrine finish up here. But at the same time, Naniwa is holding on to get his Colossus count higher and higher and higher. Naniwa got that Warp Prism ready to go. I like the addition of a couple of extra roaches here that are going to keep the defense strong, but as you mentioned, there is no detection up there at the moment. The Greatest Spire is on its way as well. There's 4/6 Corruptors. So a complete switch up here from Life. But, is Naniwa in a... let's look at Naniwa. He's been able to defend. He's trying to build up this army, as we've described. But has he got the army necessary to beat Swarm Hosts and Broodlords at the same time?
Well, absolutely. And Naniwa's just sitting back so passively, just on 3 bases. There's those DTs. And they will go after that Hive. This actually could be a big win. There is a Spore Crawler actually looking to finish up behind this. Getting this Hive would be a big deal, but you said something that's super important, Sean, and that's that these double spires behind, I believe, the natural. One is a Greater Spire. Yes, you don't need 10 Broodlords.
Nice pick up
the Hive does die. If he gets like 5 or 6 Broodlords, What are the Stalkers going to do? Blink underneath the the Locust to get after those Broodlords? No, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, remember, Naniwa does have +3 attack, and there are no upgrades yet. We are about to have 1-1 complete for these Locusts that we see charging into this third. Naniwa still on 3 bases. He is going to need to rely, as he says, on his control, on his fight, because the next fight is going to be a big one. The Greatest Spy is now finished. We are going to see Broodlords morph. There's a Ling run by getting into the natural here. Naniwa's let that slip.
It's going to go up into the main. The Colossus can step up on the high ground, but these Locust swarms are just relentless. And Naniwa's using force fields. He's like microing back against this, but this is just him wasting time and still taking incremental damage. What he needs to do is let those Locusts go up against that third, swing around and ambush those Swarmos, or do this and just clamp down on the Locusts themselves. But he has to win a fight here. He needs to push forward. If he doesn't push forward, he's just slowly going to get whittled away.
Well, he's got an observer with that, but look at that. The Broodlords are morphed, and now this is a very strong army that Startail Life has. A combination of 2 deadly units with the Locusts and then the Swarm hosts as well. Whoop.
Couple of Fungals going out. It looks like Life wants to do something here, but there's the blink forward. The Broodlords are under attack. Several Broodlords are gone. The Locusts are not out just yet. They're going to spawn in a moment, and it looks like Naniwa was going to evade this force. He does kill the Infestors, but with the 5 or 6 Colossus there, I believe. Maybe it's just 4. No, I think it's 5. He's actually killing these Swarm hosts and their Locust alike. The Broodlord count is too low, and there's no other support units. There's no Corruptors. There's no Roaches or Lings. I mean, okay, there's a few Corruptors, but I think Naniwa, he can actually push forward here.
Excellent move from Naniwa, destroying the Locust, and then in between their waves, jumps forwards, finds the Broodlords, and Naniwa is pushing further and further down. He wants to be able to set up a 4th base. He's trying to do that back at home. The Zealots protecting this middle line because there are Burrowed Zerglings, but Naniwa is fighting well.
Here he comes. I don't know if Life can do this. If you look back over there, he just doesn't have enough support units. A lot of times Zergs rely on Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers and Vipers to abduct the Colossus out of this army, but they're just not there. Naniwa seems to be ignoring these Locusts. That's a bit of a mistake. Could cost him a couple of Stalkers being to walk up into that 4th base.
Yeah, he's not getting too greedy. He's not going straight for the Zerg heart here. He's coming back. He's going to pick off a mining base, fall back on a 4th, and if he's able to get this, it would be nice. Remember, he can move around to the right-hand side there and use the Colossus on the high ground.
It looks like he's going to use the, he's going to let some of the shields get peeled off those Stalkers and then blink them back. Another counterattack coming out from Life. He's relentless with this. And it looks like Naniwa's going to have to continue. I mean, he's got to pay attention to that, by the way. He's only on 3 base economy. Yes, we did see, I think, a 5th and 6th base get established for the Zerg player, but there's no saturation there. It's all about these first 4 bases for the Swarm host, and right now there's not a lot of support, but Naniwa seems to be preoccupied. Well, okay.
I mean,
now there's Broodlords again.
These counterattacks have been incredible. Roaches, Zerglings in all 3 bases, with Burrow as well. Excellent play here from Life, really doing a lot of damage behind this. Naniwa is falling behind in probes, but it looks like he is going to get to this base, and he will pick it off, but at what cost here is, the Stalkers blink forward. They find the Broodlords once again, and there is a couple of Broodlings to help out, but he does kill some. The supplies are dropping down here for Naniwa, 160
and he doesn't get the hatchery either, so I mean, because he focused that hatchery, the drones were left relatively unperturbed. 4th base is going to be attempted here in a few moments. I mean, where does these Zerglings come from? They just keep coming out. Life will not stop, which means Naniwa has to be in so many places at once, and so far Naniwa's army control has not failed him totally, but you can see, like, every once in a while, he's attacking rocks and forgetting about Locust behind him. He's losing an observer because it wanders into a Spore Crawler. These are mistakes that Naniwa doesn't typically make, but because of all these counters, we're seeing it more and more often.
But look at the minimap. How many bases does Life really have? He has one on the top left. He's got another one on the right-hand side as well. He's mining just so much money that he's able to lose units and replace them rather fast here. And Naniwa still only on 3 bases.
And Naniwa he needs to start doing some DT and Zealot harass to those other bases, or at least check on them, because they're not defended as far as I can tell. There's no Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers at those bases. Yeah, they're completely naked. At this point, they're now getting mined of their gas.
Yeah.
This is well, there you go. Ordered it up, and this is nice. Those Zealots, I mean, just 2 Zealots could shut down that entire base.
All right, well, there's a DT in there as well. That's nice. Naniwa keeping Life down a little bit, but he's still mining from 5 bases efficiently. There's a Burrowed Zerg in there slowing Naniwa down.
Gosh.
All these small things.
He applies so much pressure just everywhere.
Yeah.
We had Burrowed Zerglings in the main base. There's a Burrowed Zergling delaying this 4th again. He's just counterattacking all game long. He is Zerg, man. This guy embodies it. It's amazing to watch.
4 more Broodlords just making that ultimate army. Life is attempting here. We do have the Templar Archives and also a Stargate being built here. So a combination of Storm and potentially even going all the way up to Tempest here.
Oh, these The Swarmos have been found. Some big losses as the Locusts kind of go in the wrong direction. But now, to your point, Sean, there's a really dangerous situation what's happening right now. There's so many Broodlords that unless he can blink safely underneath like all of them, his Colossus are almost occupying too much supply. He doesn't have enough anti-air. The Broodlord shift here is so powerful, so good.
Do you feel that Naniwa gave up on the Warp Prism too early in this game? That's something that's kind of been used once and then not used again?
I do. I think you have to have it running all game long, but Life gave him pretty good motivation to give up on it. I mean, he handled all the Warp Prism harass, chased it down with the Corruptors, and shot it out of the sky. It's really hard to deal with the counterattacks, to establish your own counterattacks, and then also, oh, by the way, you can't just A-move this Protoss army. It has to be very meticulously used against what he's facing.
17 Broodlords, 10 Swarmos. Naniwa needs time, by the way. He needs to get that Storm upgrade, which isn't too far away. He's got 4 High Templars there. He also needs to, well, realistically, all the way get up to Tempest. Tempest are going to be able to really bring down these Broodlords fast.
That is a scary Zerg swarm. Even Queen's here, 4 transfuses. Enough Broodlords to give any kind of anti-air a shake in its boots. The one thing it is missing is it doesn't have a Corruptor Cloud. I mean, he's relying on Queens and like 3 Corruptors as his anti-air. So if we can get these Stargates up and running, says Naniwa, he will have a chance.
Well, Naniwa's pinned against the wall here. He may have to recall out. He's got to be careful. He ideally would love to pick off that base then, maybe recall out, but what is he looking to do here?
Yeah.
Colossus going on the high ground. Got to be careful of those Broodlord waves. Look at how many Broodlords there are.
It seems like the time is now. Those Broodlords are walking forward. They're clouding up that mineral line. Naniwa says, screw this. I'm out of here. This Nexus should die. 2 Colossus do get trapped. It looks like they'll be able to whittle their way out. And again, because of no Vipers, because of no Corruptors, I feel like Naniwa's always going to have the ability to choose where this fight happens. It's not going to be chosen for him, but he's having his options narrowed right now with this army occupying so much space in the middle of the map.
So he's bought enough time. He's at Storm. He's kind of at Tempest now as the first ones are about to come out. But has it been too long? He doesn't really have the economy. Look at how much money Life has. 2,800 minerals, 2,200 gas. He can easily make a massive switch, whether it be to Mulus or whatever. I mean, can Naniwa still do this?
Now there are Corruptors coming out. I mean, to answer your question, Sean, I mean, he might have ran out of time. We're going to see that right now. Just a few Tempests just trying to speckle damage in there. But again, the transfuses mean that it's almost for naught. And Life is just controlling this army beautifully. You can't blink under that. There's too many Locusts. There's too many Broodlings. And he's trying to goad him out here, but he's already lost his third, and now he's losing his natural. A nice Storm there to try and thin out that wave. But, I mean, again, I don't see the opening. I don't know what Naniwa is hoping to wait for.
Well, another Tempest there is going to get picked off immediately. Just flies right past the Corruptors and Queens, and that will get picked off easily. And Life just has got himself enough time. He's bought himself enough freedom. Naniwa seems to look
yeah, I thought about it.
He has to fight. He's running very low on resources. He's losing his infrastructure.
If there was a time, the Locusts are up, the Broodlords are moving. There's no free units here. It's got to be now. I feel like, is he going to do it? Yes, there's 2 good Storms hitting all the Swarmos and a lot of the Corruptors. There's the blink forward. If there ever was a chance, it's right now. He's taking down the Broodlords, but again, in the backfield, there are those Corruptors doing some work. And it looks like Naniwa might win this costly battle, but by the skin of his teeth, Sean, he's got no bank behind it.
He blinks back there. This is incredibly close. Look at the supplies. I mean, the 22 Roaches is the big supply thing, but that fight was, I guess, the best he could ever do. And that was a good fight there. Naniwa picked the perfect opportunity. 2 Broodlords are going to just die, I'd imagine, there if he blinks under them. Only 3 Swarmos left.
Yeah, he's going to win this fight.
But the bank behind it is the problem.
The epic caster question. But at the cost of what?
He wins the fight, but it doesn't look like he's going to win the war in control.
Yeah, I mean,
he's 7 Broodlords, 10 Corruptors, 5 more Infestors.
5 bases behind this. There's more Broodlords.
He's back up to 173 supply. Naniwa wins that, that small fight there, that engagement.
Both players. I mean, the Roaches are kind of weird, by the way. I think that if there ever was a chance for Naniwa to get back in this game, it would be some kind of weird remax on half Roaches like this. I really don't understand or like that choice. I know what he's saying is, if I get counterattacked right now, I need something more than Zerglings, I guess. But I'd rather it just be, Zerglings and Corruptors to occupy the fire while the Broodlords get over there.
An absolutely excellent game from both sides here. Life just displaying how to play true Zerg, true annoying Zerg with so many free units. Naniwa's control is absolutely... There's no doubt in my mind that this is the number one thing about Naniwa to look at when you see his play. His control is amazing, but Life is a boss. He
really well
that
played.
game.
Well played by both players. I mean, I have to just fully agree with what you said. And Life, again, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, this is damn near perfect. It is sick, good play.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, to the neckbeards on the internet, we could find mistakes. We could be like, wow, the choice to make 3 spine crawlers versus 4 is mathematically incorrect. Yeah, we could do that. But outside of those things, that is disgusting good Zerg play. And Naniwa still put himself in a position where he could have. I mean, the big fight, it needed to happen a little bit earlier, I felt. Once he lost the third and the natural, the damage to his economy was just too great. Had Naniwa maybe found those exposed Swarm hosts earlier, replenished, had an earlier fourth, he could have won that game, and he put himself in a position to do that.
Knowing Naniwa and you know, having casted and being at so many live events with him for many a year now, 3 years doing StarCraft 2 next to Naniwa, and I really believe that he's probably looked at that game, and as much as it was very dominant from Life, the way that it was played out, I'm pretty sure Naniwa's looking at it like, yeah, I think I can beat that.
Yeah.
I really think that's the way that he would look at that game. He wouldn't be like, yeah, that's so stupid. Well, I think that may be the second thing he'd be thinking, but I'm pretty sure he'd feel confident in going up again against what we just saw.
He was in a really tough spot. You know, I talked about how I just didn't think stylistically we'd see Swarm host play out of the Zerg player Life, but I was proven wrong. And on that map, Swarm host play can be very difficult because, again, at that 4th base, which Life never really used, he just kind of went to the middle of the map. He's very brazen about it, but he made it work. They're challenging everything. They're hitting the third. They're blocking the pathways of you attacking the Zerg. It's not a super big map where you can get around those Swarm hosts. This is a map where you need to deal with the Locust and hope to score a big win after that. And Naniwa, he almost made it work.
But I think that he needed more time overall. If he was able to get maybe 3-4 Tempest, being able to shot these Broodlords down with just a single wave from the Tempest fleet, I think it could have been different. But again, at the same time, Life bought himself enough time. The Lings and Roaches, the Burrow, the counterattacks in 3 different places.
Yeah.
Unbelievable play from Life there. So
you know what's amazing
really
about that too is like
skilled.
Naniwa is it's him and Scarlet, the 2 best foreigners right now. Absolutely, you can make an argument for either one. And when they're as the best foreigners, they're 2 of the best players on the planet.
Yep.
Naniwa handled that harass really well. A lesser player would have absolutely crumpled. And I know that's kind of a weird point to make because there's not a lesser player in there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is Life has a separation from most of the scene. Like, it takes the absolute best foreigner to exist amidst that kind of harass. Anybody else, and we would have seen gigantic mistakes, Roaches killing 20-plus probes because they're everywhere. Like I said, they just played so well, but that's what Life does. He either makes you play the best you could ever play and then you still lose, or he makes you look silly and he laughs in that booth while he takes your money.
All right, so you've done a lot of coaching in the past. I mean, we both have. When it comes to let's I mean, obviously we got no right to tell anyone what to do, of course.
No
right at all. But if you had a whiteboard behind us and you were to say, all right, that game just played, we just watched it, we talked about it a lot. What are 3 things, or maybe 3's a lot, just a couple of things that Naniwa should focus on if that was to repeat itself again? What were things that he didn't do and should have done, or maybe that he didn't even do and should have done?
Well, I think we go back to the beginning of that game and see that once again, Naniwa, his reputation precedes him. He's known to be a 1-gate expander, and Life took the advantage. The start was advantageous for Life. So you asked Naniwa, are you comfortable with that, or do you want to adjust? Perhaps Nexus first, which is, again, a liability against a player like Life who could do an early pool, or a Forge opening. Or if you are going to go Gateway expand like that, know that you will get those fast and slow Roaches out of the Zerg player, and maybe you're okay with that exchange. So that's a place that Naniwa can look to make his mind up as to whether or not he was comfortable with how it went or he wants to improve. And then the next place, too, is I feel like if I was a coach for Naniwa, I would talk about, hey, you can do this. That game was not ideal. This map was not great for Swarm hosts, and you were right there with him. At the end, of course, he had some separation. But if we get Zealot DTs at those periphery, 5th and 6th bases, if those are shut down, more Warp Prism harass like you were talking about, Naniwa is facing a Zerg that he could beat. And that's an amazing statement to make when you're saying it about Life.
All right, well, Life has just stepped outside the booth. He just needed a couple of minutes break to pop to the restroom, and then we'll be continuing on with this series. But let's talk now going into the next map of this series. It is going to be Belshir Vestige, a similar map to Yonsu. It's small, it's a 2-player map. It has similar avenues where the armies are going to collide to each other. And, obviously, as you described earlier on, Swarm hosts aren't the best on that map. they're not the best. They get countered very easily versus a lot of splash damage units because
on
of
Belshir?
how they're filtered through. On Yunsu.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the best there. But coming on to Belshir Vestige, how do you think now Life's going to maybe attempt? Does he play exactly the same style here and just say, all right, well, I'm going to wait for you to stop me, and then I'll change it up? Or do you think he'll change it up completely anyway?
Well, what's kind of scary about Life is he's got any one of those options is absolutely brilliant for him. He could do the exact same thing because of how well it worked game number 1, and this map is arguably better for Swarm Host, or he could change it up because of what he did in game number 1. And that, I feel like, is the terror for Naniwa. He now is in a position where, again, he's looking at Life and he's like, wait a second, I wanted to drive this bus. I wanted to dictate where we go in this series, but now it's kind of you doing it. What are you going to do on Belshir Vestige in particular? Because this is a map that does scream Swarm Host. So is Naniwa afraid of that, or did game number 1 give him confidence against that?
Well, we'll have to find out. I think there's also going to be a little bit of a war between the two opening builds as well. That seems to be a common trend when it comes to Naniwa and playing against other Zerg players who try to take advantage of his gateway expand. So let's find out what's going to happen. It's map number 2 in this best of 3 series between Naniwa and, of course, Startail Life. Let's get into it.
We do see at least a drone being made, so it seems to be standard for the time being. No probe leaving the Protoss space, as we have seen Naniwa will proxy gate. Let's go ahead and introduce these players, showing off some amazing Zerg Swarm play in game number 1. It is Startail Life. And his opponent needing a big win here, trailing 0-1 in both of his PVZs day 1. Can he do it again? It's Alliance Naniwa. And that is worth noting. Now, both those guys were not Life, but in the 2 best of 3s that he played against Zerg players, day 1, he went 0-1-0-1 and came back to win both in convincing fashion.
Yes, he did. Naniwa has this aura around him where even though he does get emotionally invested in the games and absolutely probably gets angry at it, but it really doesn't seem to faze him.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as he does get angry at the game, in the actual game itself, when he's playing, when he's in this mode on Belshir Vestige, I imagine all he's thinking about is the game. And look at this here.
Yep.
We have a 12 Forge coming down. If Life is going to try to capitalize on the opening, which is gateway expand every single time, and once again, Life is going to move down to take a hatchery first, Naniwa just wins these little mind game wars almost every single time they happen. And here we are going to see a cannon rush. Naniwa is not happy with people who try this against him. And well, it's going to happen. This is your favorite build, by the way.
I know. It is. And you know what? Quick shout out to Scarlett yesterday. She encouraged people to listen to my casting because I will explain how Cannon Rush is the answer to everything Zerg does. But Scarlett, I love you. This is a great response to what Life is doing right now. It's a hatch first, Cannon Rush time. It's a good map for it. That pylon placement, locked in. Boom. And that, now, Naniwa's going to drop a cannon behind this, and then probably, it's an interesting question, does he cancel the pylon? Oh, he actually squeezes out. That's really nice. But the next problem is he doesn't want this to be too expensive. So yes, he cancels the pylon, because what Life should do now is force him out, another pylon, another cannon, that kind of a thing, but then cancel the hatch. Let this be an expensive cannon rush, and just take your hatch somewhere else. If Life tries to defend this cannon emplacement, he's going to lose. There's no way he beats this cannon rush right here.
Well, he's invested in 4 drones. Let's have a look.
He's going to cancel. There's no way.
Yeah.
And this is great. So 1 cannon will finish.
Congratulations, Naniwa. Picks up the hatchery cancel there. And of course, that's a big investment. He's back down to 1 base. And there we do have the Nexus thrown down. He's got to throw down a cannon back at home immediately. Of course, his 6 Zerglings are on the way. And he doesn't want to let those get in. But a successful start here for Naniwa in map number 2.
Yep, spots there's no gas. It was exactly right. He's going to let...
Look at this in control.
Weird. I think Naniwa's in great shape. I don't like this, to be honest with you. Like,
it's a gateway and a pylon walls up that off, right? A gateway there next to it, above it, and then a pylon.
That's walled in.
And it's walled in, so...
Thank you, Life. Sometimes life gives you lemons, and you can't rush the shit out of it. This is the easiest cannon rush Naniwa's ever had, by the way. This is like, well, I was going to make the cannons come to you, but if you want to just put it right there, that's fine.
2 cannons, and Naniwa's waiting with his probe if the Zerglings... if the castle of the hatchery comes down and the Zerglings try to run by, he's going to wall off. As you can see, completely walled off there, and that's a lot of money. That's another cancelled hatchery, basically, as you can see. More money being wasted. The probe's down here. Please don't do it again. I think that might be a little bit of a waste there, Dan Naniwa, as the Zerglings are coming back. But Naniwa successfully pulls the cannon rush off and successfully defends against the counter attack. And
he's going to get all information. This is so great. He's going to go behind the other third. I mean, yeah, technically it's a third. He's not going to be able to cannon rush it unless Life gets super aloof, which I don't think he will. Okay, there it is. He's even broadcasting. There's a probe there. But he knows. He sees this. And with the canceled hatchet as natural, he now knows as well there's no scary tech. There's no Nidus worm coming, no fast roaches. Naniwa can right now decide exactly what he wants to do with knowing, with the safety of saying, I'm not in danger of getting all in for the next 5 minutes.
Well, let's just remind ourselves, anybody who watched BlizzCon, I'm sure a lot of you did, when a cannon rush happened with SOS versus Jadong, when that happened, and the pylon and cannons were still around, remember how well the SOS played. He was saying, all right, I'm going to use the pylon surrounded by cannons to send zealots this way, then I'm going to launch your attack this way, and then I'm going to go this way, and was really stretching the Zerg player apart, because as you can see, 3 hatcheries are very far away from each other. There is no creep spread. It's going to be very, very difficult if anything along those lines was to happen here.
And I think what Nana was dialing up is he's going to bust out the Void Rays, man. You don't have to ask that guy twice to make Void Rays. He's like, well, yep, Void Rays seem great here. He might start with the Phoenix or Oracle. Both of those decent options. I kind of like the idea of just going straight Void Ray, having a good 4 or 5 gateways behind it, maybe just 3 if you want to be more safe about it, and then walking in with some Zealots, because as you said, the creep spread, I mean, Life's making a beeline for you. You can see there's already a tumor down trying to connect the second and the third, but the main, it's on an island by itself. He almost lost an Overlord to that cannon. That'd be sick. But any kind of pressure here is going to be so hard for Life to deal with.
All right, well, he's chosen to go for an Oracle here, Naniwa has. And on that left-hand side, there is only a Queen at the time being. He is connecting creep between the second and third base, but the main is a very long way away. There is a Zealot and Stalker.
Misfire. He needs to be careful. Speed nowhere to be found. I mean, well, that's not true. It's being initiated here, but it's not going to be a factor for a while. Oracle can take on a single Queen, but look at that. We already have a Spore Crawler going down for Life as well. I do believe he spotted the Stargate. Yes, he did. Okay. No, he did not. He did not spot the Stargate. No. So he just knows. He's just freaking smart.
Life. Void Ray right behind this as well. It looks like Naniwa may be leaning towards that third base. Switching over to Void Rays. I'd assume that we're going to see a second and third Stargate behind this. You don't just kind of build one Void Ray and then stop. And especially it's Naniwa, of course. And he is taking that third base with almost minimal units, which is a little bit of a risk. And that's probably the reason why we have 16 Zerglings being made here. Life is going to try to stop this third from being built. Zergling speed's about to complete. Does Naniwa have enough to defend?
Absolutely.
I mean, what's his gateway count?
He's going to SimCity in a cannon between those 2 pylons and then seal it off with gateways. And all these Zerglings will die to the Stalker and the Mothership Core above. These additional Zerglings in the Hydros is Life saying, I'm very uncomfortable with you getting away with that, but I don't know what he can do about it.
All right, well, the Nexus isn't too far away from being completed, so of course he can use the Photon Overcharge once that is complete, but Life is got a lot of Hydralisks on the way, and he doesn't really have a high drone cannon. He's here at only 50. Zerglings are in there. Void Ray's helping out. Mothership Core 2. It doesn't look like this can be broken. The cannon may be stopped, but if the Nexus completes, the Photon Overcharge will 100% keep this complete.
Yeah.
And +1 attack is on the way. There's a lot of Hydras, though. I'm starting to get a bit worried about the count of Hydralisks. The second
5 gateways.
Third Stargate is not as well. Yeah, second, third Stargate not here, but gateways instead.
Yeah, 5 gateways instead. And these Hydras are going for speed first. That's worth noting. A lot of times you'll go range, then speed. But I think what Life's saying with that first upgrade is I actually want to get my ass over there as soon as I possibly can to start challenging that third. And I'll tell you what, Naniwa has shown some legendary holds so far. If he can do another one with that upgrade and with what Life is investing in this, Naniwa should be in prime position to win the game.
26 Zerglings, though. Naniwa just needs to hold on against the next couple of Zergling waves. He's only got 2 sentries, and the Guardian Shield is activated. 1 force field there, a second one. He doesn't have a lot of units here, but the Void Rays are helping out, as well as the double cannons against the Zerglings, and he does hold on for now. But will he continue on? There's a lot more reinforcements coming. If Naniwa makes the hold, he is down in supply. That's where the victory will lie. But can he make the hold?
A little bit of a premature Photon Overcharge on the right side over there. As you can see, it's whiffed. The Mothership Core actually exposed. It will die as well. So Naniwa forgetting a few things here, but I have to say, Sean, with mostly Zerglings coming out and now the range upgrade being initiated, I feel like Naniwa, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff here. He's getting ran down right here. This is the most dangerous moment, I feel like, in the game thus far. He needs to get back. Zealots do find safety up over there, and now with the Void Rays in the cannons, it looks like he's in position to perhaps hold here.
All right, let's find out if he can make this hold. He's got +1 attack just now finished for these Zealots. A couple of sentries being warped in. The Void Ray count is rising. When we saw what happened over the last couple of days, the higher they go, the more Zerg stuff dies. Quite simple, really. And the Void Ray count is rather high, and he's going to pick off a couple of Hydras here on the right-hand side. Does pull them back just in time. Sentry count is important. We had to cut up these Hydralisks. He's got full vision because of that Oracle. In comes Life.
He's going to go for it. The spacing force fields are down to make sure more Hydras can't clamp down on those Void Rays. 2 cannons joining up with the Void Rays. Lots of lasers, and it looks like Life is going to have to back away. The lubricating Zerglings are gone. And Naniwa survives.
That's the hold he needed. He's got +1 attack now on this area. He's going for the attack. A couple of force fields push these units back.
No, the Mothership Core.
That's a little bit unfortunate there, but look at the supplies. It was 30 deficit before. Now it's only 10. He's got a third base. He's got a Void Ray coming. He's got more sentries coming in. And I think Life's in a bit of trouble here. He's trying to go again more and more waves, but Naniwa has a pretty large army to defend this.
A lot of probes dying over here at this third, and without that Mothership Core, there's not any oh wow, actually a couple of force fields. Yes, 3 Hydralisks are going to be severed away from that army, and Life stands to lose more, actually. He tried to challenge the might of Naniwa there and couldn't do it. If you look at that production tab, there's 0 drones coming out. It's all Ling, all Hydra. Well, okay, never mind. I'm just gonna see myself out now. Thank you.
Don't leave me.
Take it away, Nick. Yeah.
Zealot Charge will be the upgrade research from that Twilight Council immediately. It's a massive upgrade. It helps so much with these Zealots. You can trap all the Hydras and Lings in there basically when you get it. Whoa, Life's found a hole. He's found a hole, and he's got Zerglings into the natural and probably going around to the main as well. And Naniwa will have to come back to defend, but on the right-hand side, Naniwa splits his forces up, realizing the potential of a 2-way attack, and he is there to meet and greet it.
Really nice split. He is going to again lose the Mothership Core, so that's what Life does to you. He makes you have to be in multiple places at one time, and you're going to make, at multiple times, and you're going to make those mistakes. Naniwa is typically a very clean player, but we can see these little mistakes happening. So I'm going to come out and say it. Life is behind, but if he can continue to apply this kind of pressure, I mean, look there, a couple of sentries just wandered away and died. That's how Life's going to claw his way back into this game.
Life is world class. He's been able to bring down probes through this harassment. It's down to 45 when it was a little bit higher than that. He's already got a tech switch lined up here, and we could see a massive Mueller switch. And with only 1 Stargate down, this could be very difficult. It's Zealots, Sentries, and Void Rays. That's all it is. Naniwa has not been scouting throughout this game. He's been focused on his defense. That's going to be very crucial for him. He sends out Hallucinate Phoenix. He realizes that some kind of tech switch, and if he spots that spire, I'm sure we'll see some extra Stargates coming down.
Look at the location of that
it's
spire.
Been stopped. It's been stopped. He's not going to find it.
Well, I don't think he would have anyways, is what I'm saying. He goes to the main. He sees everything that he assumes is real. Basically, the thing is, though, there's going to be 10 mutas made at one time. That's a scary number, but it's not end-of-the-world number. Naniwa's pushing out right now. If he can reinforce with things like Stalkers, his army will be 10 times more powerful. He needs to survive the counterattack and get the damage done now.
All right, let's have a look what's going to happen. A couple of Overlords are being made
supply blocked. He can't make the mutas.
Oh, he can't make the mutas.
He's stuck.
The Overlords that Naniwa's picked off across the map here have slowed it down. There is a counterattack of Hydralis here, but what is Naniwa going to do? Where is he going to go? Is he going to hold tight? He's going to pick up this base here quite easily.
He's losing more Overlords. That's it. He does it.
1-1.
All right.
All right, good game there from Naniwa. And he realizes that was a pretty good game from him.
And he's just absolutely chugging that monster right now. Pile driving it down his gullet. No, really abrupt ending. I mean, it was getting scary there. And it was really interesting, too, to note what was happening. He was up to 2,000 minerals, 2,000 gas was Life. But he had like a string of the most tragic Overlords ever. It was like one dies. All right, I'm supply block. I'll make 2. A second one dies. Well, damn you.
Yeah.
Third, fourth, fifth died. But they died in a row, and he couldn't make anything, so he taps out.
A good series so far. And we have to really, even though the freshest thing on the memory is what just happened with the Void Rays and Hydralis attack, but that all started with a successful mind game really there. A successful mind game as we saw a cannon rush be played out by Naniwa, expecting a hat-trick first, and Life, who got away in game number 1 with 3 hat-tricks before spawn and pull against a gateway play, and game number 2 was punished by Naniwa, and from that position out, Naniwa was in the driving seat, and all he had to do was not let Life get into rhythm and get back into game, and he didn't. And now we go to map number 3 between these two players, and again, I think the biggest question that we have to think about is the opening build orders. I mean, it almost revolves around that as the most important part, because in this matchup, when people are trying to change their builds to gain an advantage over the other one, it's everything. It can lead to a win or a lose based off that almost.
Well, our third map's going to be Derelict Watcher, and you talk about build orders. This is a map where you could go, again, Forge, Fast Expansion. You go Nexus first. We've seen that from Naniwa as well. Although, again, at BlizzCon, his run was tragically ended by a very anticlimactic, like, naked, blind
10-pool, 9-pool.
versus a Nexus first. So I really hope we don't see that. And then conversely, so far for the first 2 games, we've seen... Well, I mean, I guess the first map was 3-hatch before pool. Game 2 was not 3-hatch before pool. Whether or not that was an adjustment because he saw the Forge at the front of the natural or not, we won't know. Or I guess I don't know. But I don't know. They've shown different builds. They could do anything here. My biased, super hopeful self, I want a long, exciting macro game. I want them to open up, conservatively. I'd like that. I love when these guys play. They're playing so great this series.
Yeah, it's just some awesome StarCraft here. Naniwa really showing some good games. Life just playing out of his mind right now. Absolutely incredible. Remember, this is just winners round number 1. This is a best of 3. The winner of this moves on to face off against Innovation in winners round 2. A difficult road ahead. This is Dreamhack Winter, a big tournament to end the year of 2013 at Dreamhack. And now let's get into this final map.
Introducing the players, lower left-hand side, the blue Protoss, tying up the series. It is Alliance Naniwa. And his opponent, the red-hot Zerg from Team Startail, it's Life.
All right, so let's have a look at these 2 build orders. They are quite important to really look at how this game is going to shape up. As Life and Naniwa, you can see there on Naniwa's screen, pylon inside the main base. So with a pylon inside the main base, he's going to be going most likely here for a gateway expand.
Yep.
It would be very greedy if you did try to go for a Nexus off the pylon inside the main base, not having that war-off already started to be created on such a large, open, wide ramp down there. But on the other side of things, what is Life going to do? Will he go for hatchery? Is he scared? Is he not scared? Does he go spawning pool in anticipation of a Forge and a
That's the gambit. This
rush?
is going to be Nexus first, though.
It's a greedy build from Naniwa, and that is a 15 spawning pool coming out from Life.
Which is, I think, just about the best thing Naniwa could possibly hope for. But I mean, there's no but. Let's be honest here. These guys that are sitting in those booths, they've won tournaments. They've won major championships, of course. Life more recently and more often, but Naniwa is of that caliber. These are the kind of risks you have to take to win a series against another champion. You do not just sit here and one gate expand 3, 4, 5 times and hope to win a series. You need to show variance. You need to take risks, and it's about acceptable risks in certain situations. And I feel like this one makes me scared, but it worked. It's paid off. He's fine. He's great.
Life's even checking inside his main base there. If there was 2 gateways, these
Nani was in his head.
Exactly, and Naniwa's won the build order start of this game. He has a build that is greedy, is not going to get punished here. He doesn't have a Forge, he doesn't have a cannon to protect himself. He's gone straight to a gateway, and upon seeing that hatchery coming down late, he knows this is a regular time spawning pool. He knows that's a regularly timed hatchery, and Naniwa is probably feeling over the moon with this, because last time this happened on the big international scene at BlizzCon, he lost in the first couple of minutes, but this time it's paid off. And as you described very, very smartly, Naniwa is inside Life's head, and he's won the last 2 games in a row when it comes to the build order mind games.
And we can see the drone moving out, just extremely vanilla, going to drop at the 3rd hatch, but after a 15 spawning pool, 15 hatch, 4 Zerglings, very standard play coming out from Life, very, very safe, as you say, Apollo, and I agree. Still no gas, so no early speed or anything like that. But to give an idea of how greedy Naniwa was playing, he skipped the Forge altogether. There's no cannon at all. So if this was some kind of pre-planned, we've seen it, the 1 or 2 base speedling all in, Naniwa would just be dead. He would just be dead. But he's saying, to beat Life, I need to take some risks, and I'm just going to assume he won't try something like that, and he was right.
Well, 2 Zerglings are trying to do a little bit of damage here, trying to get to the probes, have not got one yet. Naniwa on the other side of the map is scouting out if there is a 3rd base or not, and he has seen that. But as you can see, not having a Mothership Core, Cannon, Stalker, or anything out early on, he is having a bit of a hard time dealing with these 2 Zerglings, but hasn't taken any losses yet.
These are Life Zerglings, man. Those are the Green Beret of Zerglings. They're just
And they've gotten into the mineral line once
They've
again.
seen some shit.
And they've even killed a probe.
Yep, one probe dies.
Killed probes.
Well worth it. They get all the information. They see the lack of forge. They see, a stalker coming out. They did not spot the motion core, I guess, but well worth it, certainly. The 2 Zerglings doing their job. And on the flip side, let's see if Life is going to have any kind of noticeable reaction. 10 slow Zerglings.
I think that's just really to deal with any stalker pressure,
yeah,
right?
I agree.
Not an overcommitment there at all. But a robotics facility is the most interesting part of this game. Of all the tech choices that we've seen from Naniwa in the past, he's decided to go for a robotics facility on the front door here. What do you think this can be?
Well, this could be, he's on the 2 gases. Okay, so this has actually stumped me earlier because...
Is this his immortal attack that he played earlier in this tournament?
It's just it's the Soul Train. It's Naniwa's Soul Train.
Okay.
There has been this build going around right now that's very popular where off of 1 gas, you get a very fast 2 Immortals and a Warp Prism and like 6 or 7 Gateway for Zealot behind it. Naniwa does not do that. It's the old traditional, just 2 Immortal push.
Look at these Zerglings, though. He's actually built 12 to defend against the Stalker, but sent some around the other side. There is a Sentry then, another one being built, and Naniwa is going to have to use a Force Field. Chrono Boost on the Robotics Facility, which has obviously been spotted here by Life, and Naniwa's in the Mineral Line on the other side.
Yeah.
Another
Focusing down the Queen as well.
Just in time, he's going to have to wall off.
That's a dead Queen. The Zealot and the Stalker have joined together to do enough damage that the Mothership Core can win that fight.
That's a big win. That's a very big win, and the reason why it's a big win is because going for an attack like Naniwa is, Life's going to need all the production he can get, all the lava he can get, all the units he can get. But with killing the Queen, he's going to slow that down.
And we can see here come the gateways. Again, no forge. This is bare bones, man. Naniwa has dialed up the all-in for game number 3. This is either going to work or fail, win or lose. For a lot of you, that seems really silly and boring to explain, but there's like 5 people that needed it, and I'm talking to you 5 right now. But it's going to be 2 Immortals, and it's been about 3 or 4 sentries behind. He doesn't really have the gas for anything else. And what's critical is that the last time he tried this, it actually, I think it was on Belcher Vestige versus one of the Zergs, and it did work. But he forgot the Mothership Core. This time around, he's got it. So there should be a good Time Warp or 2, and those are going to be critical in dealing with those roaches.
Yeah, this is the build that Naniwa used against Shelly earlier on in the tournament. And are we going to see it successful here? 7 additional gateways, 16 roaches. 16
That's a lot of roaches.
12 Zerglings are on the way. Life knows what's coming. He saw it early on. Is that Queen going to hinder
I don't know.
Production here? But here we are moving out. Does not want to lose that probe because he's already walled himself in.
Life has 52 drones.
Oh, that probe!
Damn near perfect.
Be careful with
yeah,
that.
he does have to be careful with the probe.
He does have the Warp Prism there, but still, it's nice to have these pylons to back up as well, so you can use the Warp Prism more to be able to control the...
Prepare yourself. I don't like it. I don't know if Naniwa can defy the odds, but speed just finishes. This is Derelict Watcher. It's not a force field friendly map. Life is out here with a gigantic force, circling around and sharking. Can Naniwa pull this rabbit out of a hat?
Life has units at the south. He has units at the north here. Time Warp's going to be super valuable. Here it comes in.
There's a couple of force fields. Zerglings moving in at the front, and they do get smashed back, but there's not a lot of force fields here. Guardian Shield does go up as well. There's the trap. It's been sprung. Is it enough? The Immortals are not shooting at the roaches right now, but some sick force fields have sandwiched in a lot of these units, and Naniwa seems to be taking the fight.
Is he going to be able to do it, though? He's wasted all his force fields already. There's a lot more units where these come from.
No, there's too many units.
Very good at this. He's doubling his opponent's supply already.
There's too many. It just saves the Immortal.
But what is he really going to do?
Yeah, he's going to
go all the way home.
No, he's warping in more units here as well. This other Immortal stuck behind. He's going to put them behind the Zealots for a wall. And it looks like Naniwa's going to fight tooth and nail here. Again, back at home, no probes coming out, no additional gases. He's microing himself into a position where he's trying to whittle down these roaches, and he's done a beautiful job. But again, the unfortunate thing here is this is a war of attrition, Apollo.
Yeah.
And he is not winning it right now.
Great control by Naniwa, but at the end here, it's still a player without any gas really left at home, Naniwa, without any tech behind it. But we've seen failed attacks from Naniwa before, which have turned around through an opponent's mistake, have been able to give him the victory. Is this one of those times again? He kept both of the Immortals alive. Credit to Naniwa there. He has a third one. It looks like he's got the Twilight Council and will probably just go for Blink and go again. There's hardly any way to, try to play a normal game from this position.
No, I mean, there will be the follow-up all-in, but 2 bases should be it for Naniwa. And Life's just sitting here being annoying, but again, if you look at that production tab, it's going to be a Hydralisk Den.
Yeah.
Probably drones once he opens up his supply here a little bit. No, it's actually going to go straight into Hydralisk. He wants to put it on heavy and hard. He knows the all-in's coming, I suppose, so he says, I'm pretty good on drones. But he's playing it really safe, actually. A couple of Spore Crawlers going down, making sure that a DT follow-up wouldn't get it done. Yeah. But it is going to be Blink and probably 4, 5, maybe 6 Immortals.
Well, if this Warp Prism, I mean, Naniwa are obviously waiting for Blink, waiting for Stalkers. I guess there's an opportunity where this Warp Prism could do something here. It's got 4 Zealots in it. Imagine if Life was out of position trying to kill Naniwa and 4 extra Zealots with the 4 already, and the Warp Prism got warped in. He picked off the 3rd, and the game goes on. There's ways Naniwa can get back into it for sure. But is this how it's going to be? Remember, there's a lot of units that are still around here. It's a big investment if he warps in a lot of Zealots here. Yeah, and he is going to try it. It's a big move here, and that's a lot of money.
Good cancel. Great cancel.
Yeah, nice play there.
Great job. So Naniwa immediately saw Zerglings coming in. He was counting on this Zerg force being mid-map. If it was, that would be fantastic. Smashing the 3rd, and Zerglings would be first to respond. So Zealot versus Zergling, pretty great trade there for the Protoss as well. But unfortunately, Life is just kind of one step ahead again.
All right, so Life has played this out really well. I mean, just from the very first couple of Zerglings, he's getting a probe kill. It's a nice move from him, being able to scout out what's going on, to position well enough to get ready for the attack that was incoming, dealing with the attack that was incoming.
Oh, jeez.
But the next part is, can he defend against the next attack? There's 5 Immortals.
Yeah, Life has a 60 supply advantage right now. Like he is playing some kind of weird Facebook farming game, and it's just going fantastic for him right now because he's got so many freaking apples over there. That's all he's been doing is just macroing up. And on the flip side, Naniwa's trying to muster together a force, and these 5 Immortals would be sick if Life had dialed up Roaches. But unfortunately, it's the Roaches are an afterthought. They're leftovers from the beginning of the game. It's all Hydra Link.
Yeah, 70 supply difference now. This is looking almost over for Naniwa. Is there some way he can win this fight? Is it his control? He doesn't have force fields. He's going to have to come back to defend against these Zerglings, otherwise everything's going to die at home. He does send some units back. I guess on the flip side, there's units that are not helping out to defend. And here we go, Naniwa with his last assault. I think Life is very ready for this.
Huge concave, no force fields. Time stop does go down. But there's an Alpha Predator out here, and there's no way to stop it. Mothership Core gets mowed over. Immortals expose a couple of really nice force fields. They're going to delay this just a little bit. Warp Prism still allowing for some warp-ins, and now Roach is behind this. Naniwa is going to back up and try to take a more favorable fight on his side of the map, joining up with his Blink Stalkers. But I believe that is the Reckoning coming his way. That's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff, with more stuff coming. 13 Roaches. Here comes the fight from Startail Life. With this fight, he would be pushing himself into the next round of the winner bracket. And, well, Naniwa is going to fight out to the very last Stalker, the very last Blink possible. But as we can see, the numbers are clearly in favor of Startail Life, waiting to pounce, waiting for Naniwa to take the engagement. And finally, it begins. The last fight of this game will take place right here on Derelict Watcher. And that is a fantastic line of Hydralists going crazy on these Stalkers. Likewise, Naniwa has a great line of Stalkers, but it is not enough. GG! Life completes the winners round 2, and it is the 4 that were in the semi-finals of Dreamhack Bucharest. It is Innovation, MMA, Tasia, and Life, the 4 players remaining in the winners bracket.
Sweden and everyone at home, you can be proud of your warrior. Naniwa fought well, took a game off of Life. This game, he just dialed up a build that I think, against another Zerg, we could say, yeah, it's a good choice. But here it seemed to be just the wrong idea. I mean, he had very few force fields to begin with. But on a wide open map like this, with it being identified very early on by those Zerglings, seeing that early Robo placed at the front wall in, basically, Life just said, oh, okay, you're doing that? Well, I'm going to spread my macro wings and fly, and you'll never catch me.
Naniwa will be playing again. He's not out of the tournament yet. He drops down to losers round 2 at the Dreamhack Open and will be going up against the winner of 4GG and Lenok a little bit later on today. We have a lot more games before that happens, though, as Life makes his way over to the winner's interview, as he does with his hat on. He loves that hat.
Make sure and swap those faces, by the way, please. We haven't had nearly enough of that. I want to see what Smix looks like on a young man's body, and conversely, I want to see Life's face on her body. I mean what I said.
And I don't really have much else to say. Next game on the mainstream is going to be TLO taking on JYP. But before we go to that, it is, of course, a winner's interview with Life.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Congratulations to Life on defeating Naniwa, and again, a very, very close series. I just want to bring it all the way back to that first game. On Yeonsu, on the map Yeonsu, he decided to go Swarm Host, and on that map, there's a lot of narrow chokes. So I'm wondering if he chose that strategy based on the map, or if it's something that he just came up with on the spot. 그 첫 번째 경기에서는 이제 맵이 연수였잖아요. 그래서 그 군단 숙주 전략을 선택을 하셨는데 그 선택을 한 게 그 맵 때문에 선택하신 건가요? 왜냐면 그 길들 좁은 길들도 많으니까 아니면 그냥 그 순간에 선택한 전략인가요?
연수가 토스가 하기에 많이 좋은데 그래서 거기는 언덕 지형이라서 들어가면 져서 그냥 소모전을 하려고 군단 숙주 뽑았어요.
So he says Yeonsu is actually a map that's really, really good for Protoss, and there's a lot of areas where if the Zerg goes in, it's not good for them. So I think because of that, I chose Swarm Host because I thought that would be a more fitting strategy based on that map. Now, in the second game, we saw that Naniwa actually brought it back to make the score 1-1. I want to see what was going through Life's head and if he actually lost any confidence or felt, oh, maybe I might actually lose this series. 두 번째 경기에서는 그 나니와 선수가 이겨서 1대1로 됐잖아요. 그래서 그 순간에 그 경기를 하면서 무슨 생각을 했는지, 그리고 그 경기를 지고 난 다음에 좀 자신감이 혹시 떨어졌는지.
제가 생각지도 못한 포트로시를 당해가지고 조금 당황했는데 그 다음 판 지고 상대가 3세트 때 로보틱스를 앞쪽에 지어가지고 멸자 올인인 걸 봐서 너무 쉽게 막은 것 같아. 대놓고 하기를.
So he says in that second game, I really did not expect that cannon rush, and I think that's why I lost. I had no idea that was coming. But in the third set, I actually spotted his robotics and knew that the Immortal All-In was coming, and I think because I was so prepared, I won that game fairly easily. Now, in the next game, he will be playing Innovation, who, by his no means a weak player. At one point in this year, he was considered the best player in the world. I'm wondering how confident he feels going into that matchup. 이제 다음 상대는 이제 이준영 선수와 하게 됐는데 자신 있으세요?
잘하는 선수긴 하지만 무적이라고까지 생각 안 되고요. 무적이라고 생각 안 돼서 자신이 있어요.
So he says, I am confident, and I know that he's a really good player, but I don't think it'll be a game that will be too hard or anything. I just think that I will be able to win, and I am confident because of that. Congratulations, Life, again on your series against Naniwa, and thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview. Guys, after a quick commercial break, we'll be back with JYP versus TLO, our other foreigner that's still in this tournament. Stay tuned.